Over the past few days, prompted by events in Minnesota, Central Park, and elsewhere, a lot of questions have been asked of people, including questions by some of our students and our student groups who have posted photos of African American Union students and asked, "Would you care if it were me?" Now, I often wouldn't comment on national issues, as I know I can't speak as Dave. I'm always speaking as president of Union College. But while I am president of Union College, extremely proud to be so, I'm also a black man. So I've decided to share my thoughts about some of the questions that are swirling around. I welcome anyone who wants to share their thoughts on these questions, or to hear others' perspectives, regardless of what they might be. I encourage you to attend the Zoom discussion. These details will be shared shortly. So sometimes people ask, students have certainly asked me, do you know what it's like to be the victim of racism? Do you know what it's like to know that you are sometimes seen by people, even people you consider to be your friends, even people who consider themselves to be progressives, that you're sometimes seen as a black person, not just a person? Now, I've been a black person for over 50 years, so it'd be nearly impossible for me to not know what it's like to be a victim of racism. I don't talk about experiences with racism very often publicly. I don't want to let those people and those incidents define who I am. But the truth is that the memories and the pain of these incidents are never far from my mind. My experiences with racism have been subtle and overt, ambiguous and unmistakable, very personal, and sometimes anonymous. In this, I am far from unique. Now, people sometimes ask, given my change in status and wealth, I went to Northwestern University as an undergraduate on effectively full financial aid package. It was very much need-based. I now am president of a prestigious liberal arts college and live in this amazing house. As I've gained status and wealth, people ask if my personal connection to racism is still there. And I tell you, it's taken on new forms, but it hasn't disappeared. Sometimes I'm asked, especially when incidents like this occur, do you know what it's like to fear what might happen if you were stopped by the police? What happened to George Floyd was sickening. The fraud we saw Amy Cooper perpetuate in Central Park was disgusting. The shooting of Breonna Taylor was senseless. None of this is new. Long before these incidents, there was a Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Abner Louima, Amadou Diallo, Rodney King, Emmett Till, and so many more. We are a country marked by more than 400 years of slavery, of lynchings, of persistent inequality, and all that they have spawned, large and small, simple and complex. Sometimes I think we are like the fish who cannot see the water that's all around us. Our history and my personal history mean that I am nervous every time I see a police car in the rearview mirror, or I pass a police car parked on the side of the road. It's not that I think all police officers are racist. It's not that I think every police officer would do something to me. In fact, I'm confident that the vast majority would not. It's that there are enough incidents that occur that it's hard not to be concerned. I always try to do the right thing, because that's who I am, but also because some part of me fears what the consequences might be if I did the wrong thing. And people will say, that's great, you've experienced these things, you still experience racism. What are you doing about it? What are you doing to eliminate racism? Race and inequality were the focus of my undergraduate and graduate studies. It was a passion I developed as an 18-year-old, as a 19-year-old in college. They were the focus of my research as an academic before I ended up moving into academic administration. It was a large part of the work I did in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Living my life in predominantly white spaces has given me the opportunity, an opportunity I take, to disrupt stereotypes, to force difficult conversations, and to call out implicit biases. I appreciate that I'm now in a position where I can lend a hand to people whose potential might otherwise be overlooked or constrained by unnecessarily inhospitable conditions. It's a privilege, and I relish it. I also try to make the best use of my personal and lifelong experiences with racism to be a humble and committed ally and advocate for those who experience other forms of bias. I'm sure I fail often, but I certainly try. People also ask, what's Union College doing to eliminate racism? A key principle of the strategic plan is intentionality. That must be part of what we do here. It's not enough that people have the opportunity to grow, to learn about these issues. We must find ways to engage and push all members of our community, regardless of their perspective, regardless of their experiences, to grow, to learn, to be able to engage. Courses across the curriculum expose students to others' perspectives, experiences, and constraints. Student affairs programming does this as well, and will do so increasingly as it finds innovative ways to broaden our perspectives and our imaginations. The Office of Intercultural Affairs has fantastic programming, including a session on Tuesday focused on faculty and staff that addresses the question, how can you talk to your children about race and these current issues? Athletics and other student groups, I always emphasize, these are incredible opportunities. The value of a residential college, especially a small residential experience where people get to know each other so well. People develop connections in athletics as part of teams. They develop connections in student groups with people from very different walks of life. And as they develop those connections around athletic ability, around singing, around interest in dance and other activities, they develop a trust that allows them to truly learn about others' paths. Need-based financial aid and our Making You Possible initiative aim to increase the range of life experiences present on our campus and expand the diversity of future leaders. Our vision statement emphasizes wisdom, empathy, and courage. There are banners around campus that remind us of these terms. As we all grow in each of these areas, we learn why racism and inequality persist. We learn why our actions and words sometimes have effects we don't intend or may not have appreciated. We learn how we can develop the strength to risk status, popularity, and upsetting others as we call out words and actions that move us farther from what we aim to be as a college, as a society, as a country. And we learn how to choose when and how we engage others so that they can hear us rather than feel attacked and become defensive. And also, and just as importantly, as we can hear them explain to us what their intentions are and why they may be misunderstood. I've long described racism and bias as a Sisyphean challenge. We think we've made progress, we shift our focus, and later we realize that some of our gains have been lost. I firmly believe that long-term progress on these pernicious issues requires many people and many tactics. That is what we enable through our direct work and by broadening the perspectives and challenging the assumptions of all members of our community. Our work can and must continue and expand. We must get better at what we do. But what we do will affect what happens today, and even more, it will affect what happens in the years to come, here at Union, nearby, in the country, and around the world. Thank you.